with helping so many folks that you have in teaching and coaching and motivating, you've named a couple of common themes that musicians struggle with. What are some other ones that you see or you've seen over the years, whether mental health or the motivation or that mindset of the whatever fear of judgment or paranoia or giving up? What are some of those common other themes that you've seen with musicians?
Well, there are many of them. First of all, because we're involved in the arts, and anyone that's involved in the arts, there are always challenges. Many great comedians have had very difficult lives, and they've had very sad and challenging lives, and their comedy came out of that challenging times. And many great artists like Da Vinci and Michelangelo, their lives were not easy. And within the challenges of their lives, they took it out on the sculptures, they took it out on their paintings, and they gave us art that to this day, 500 years later, when I go to Italy and go to these places and see, and go to the church where Leonardo da Vinci painted the Last Supper on the wall of a church, and the church survived through World War II when the Brits bombed the heck out of Italy, that wall lasted. And they built a museum around it, and I'm sitting there watching this painting, and you have to go through this threshold of different rooms to get your temperature to your body low enough so when you walk in the room, it's temperature controlled. And I'm looking at this 500-year-old wall that Da Vinci painted, and when you read and understand the life of Da Vinci, of what he went through, it was challenging. So musicians now, as we're in the arts, we have these challenges. There's first the challenge of a lack of confidence. That maybe I can't do this. And once you say that and the doubt is put in, that slows down the learning process, and that cheats the world of future great artists. The world gets cheated when we think that way.
That's a great way to put it, because we don't think about it, that we're more self-centered. We don't think about that others are losing out if we don't share our gift, right?
That I can stand in front of a Da Vinci or a Michelangelo. I can go to the Sistine Chapel and tilt my head back and look at the ceiling and see this work of art that is given to us, is that 500 years later, I am still getting enjoyment from this art. That's what's happening as musicians when we play music. There will be, when we're all long gone, there'll still be Mozart and there'll still be Stevie Wonder. Right. So that's the gift. So when a musician doubts themselves, Andre Segovia doubted himself when he was younger, and he went on to overcome that and become one of the greatest, classical guitar players. That to this day, when you hear a Segovia play, you get chills when you just hear the flawlessness and the expression and the emotion coming out of an acoustic guitar. It's incredible. So what musicians do also is I see, we get to escape some of the challenges that we have and some of the loneliness of being a musician. That's when drugs and alcohol steps in. And once drugs and alcohol steps in, I never did. I got drunk once in my life on my 23rd birthday. I was playing at a club in California, and people were coming around. We were actually playing, and the owner of the club came in and had a double shot of tequila and said, "We got to drink this with Dom and toast of his 23rd." And I drank the shot down, and he bit the lemon and licked the salt, whatever the hell the routine was. and he came up, and then a few minutes later, the manager came up, and then the head waiter came up, and then one of the guests came up. Well, after my fourth double shot of tequila, man, I was wasted. Sure. Yeah. And I was so drunk and so out of it, and it was such a terrible feeling. And the next day I was out of it, and I had to play the next day. And so for the next 3 days, I said, I will never do this again. Yeah. I don't care who wants to buy me a drink. And I have never been drunk since then. So I saw the effects that I was working this hard, practicing and trying to be a good musician. And the drinking did not assist me to achieve the goal that I was trying to achieve.
Yeah. So let me ask you about that, because that may come easy for you, but I talk with other folks who, whether musicians or otherwise, if they're on the road especially, somebody says, "Hey, let me buy you a drink." How do you handle that? How do you respond and sort of keep that within yourself that can help others?
Yeah, well, the first thing, when someone wants to buy me a drink, I always thank them, and I order a cranberry juice or an orange juice, or an orange juice mixed with cranberry juice. And even though the person might be drinking a beer or a mixed drink, when I get my drink, the conversation stays enthusiastic. It stays excited. People don't even notice that I don't want to, now, I may have maybe, if I have 6 or 7 glasses of wine in a year's time, that's a lot. If I have that many beers, if it's a hot summer day and I'm in Germany or Belgium, you better believe I'm going to have a beer there, but I'll have one beer. It'll be a smaller beer. I'll enjoy it, and that'll be it. And it's usually on a day off. So I try to control it to the point that I don't want to lose my mental facility for as hard as I've worked to obtain my craft and my career. Now, with drugs, I never did the drug thing. I mean, it never, because when I saw friends of mine that did the drug thing, they were sloppy. They didn't play as well. They showed up late. All the qualities that I didn't want to be associated with. So we have to make a conscious decision how we want to lead our life. Now, here I was practicing several hours a day, studying with these great teachers, the Joe Morellos, the Jim Chapins, the Shelly Manns, the Max Roaches, Papa Joe Jones, all these great players. I'm spending money on working with these guys. I didn't want to get involved with drugs because I felt that the money that I spent on the drugs, I could spend on a couple more lessons.
Right. Or some gear, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, and a lot of my friends did not have great gear. We're not taking lessons. We're doing the drug thing, showing up late, not playing as great. So, and they were great musicians. So what I realized at a young age is I never saw a success story come out of drugs and alcohol. I never saw someone doing it and playing at the top of their game, showing up on time, building a brilliant career. I never witnessed that in my lifetime. So with that, I just realized that I have to make a conscious choice. There's a chapter in my book, Chapter 8, called Choice Power. It's actually a chapter that Charmaine, my wife, discussed and put in there, and she said choice power. And she discussed about the power of every choice that we make. There's a power in every decision that we make. And that's a part of what will give you a greater sense of self-empowerment, is if you use that power in each decision wisely. And that became the journey. So with musicians, I think that there are several challenges. There's also the challenge of trying to organize their time. If a musician wakes up late and wants to practice and then wants to go to a rehearsal and then to a gig, they're usually late for everything. So the organizational skills are an extremely important part of success to achieve what we're looking to achieve.